Happy Showcase Sunday, everybody. And this week's Showcase Sunday is come from the amazing David Ramm from Expense Reduction Analysis. And I've got to say, David's going to give some amazing top tips today and cost cutting, you name it. And I'm so honoured and grateful that you've joined me today, David. Would you like to introduce yourself? Tell me who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Okay, thanks, Alison. So yeah, I'm David Ramm from Expense Reduction Analysts, or ERA for short, and as we're known. And basically, we are specialists in overhead cost optimization and reduction. So we work through a range of sectors, everybody from charities to manufacturers, retailers, wholesalers, professional services, education. You name it, we cover it because everybody has overhead spend. And I suppose the reason that I do it is I want to get the best value out of the supply chain for my clients. That gives me the buzz when we do a job well, and they get value out of it, and save some money, and some other added values as well.
Excellent. And it is quite interesting, and especially as costs are going skyrocketing every time we talk about costs at the moment, it seems to be going up and up and up and up. And it is quite interesting. There is a lot of competition out there, of different cost saving and purchasing power companies. So what makes you unique and different? What is your USP, your unique selling point, as opposed to your competition?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question, Alison. So yeah, what makes us different is really the length and breadth and depth of the knowledge that we have as an organization. So many consultancies, cost specialists, you will find very small, so there might be one or two man bands, and they are trying to procure everything, and do the client acquiring and the client managing as well. And it might be work well in something like stationery, which is quite generalized, but in the likes of insurance or waste and recycling or packaging, distribution, it might be a lot more difficult. So what we do at ERA is we have a network in the UK of over 100 people, and these guys and girls have spent a long time in the corporate world in their area of expertise, and they tend to join ERA later on in life. It's a mature network, so generally people join in the 40s, 50s and 60s, and they bring all that knowledge into the network. And then combined with the leverage that we have, that's why we can achieve the results for the customers.
That's amazing. It's amazing. And I know, when you're looking at all the different options right now, it's almost like I can hear, my my colleagues in the industry, my clients, etc., saying, "So what overheads do you cover?" Because that's probably the biggie for a lot of people right now.
Well, we cover a huge amount of overheads, Alison. So everything you can think of, really, around 80 different cost categories and sub. Wow. So we are comprehensive in what we do. And as I say, each specialist is individual to their area. So the coffee specialist doesn't know anything about waste and recycling or about laundry. All they do is their area day in, day out. So they know what the market looks like, they know what good looks like, they know what they can achieve and are achieving with other clients. So in terms of some example categories, and as I say, it's not exhaustive, but to name a few, particularly in hospitality that we look at, workwear and laundry, utilities, waste and recycling, facilities management, cleaning, banking and payments, so the merchant card fees, particularly in that area, water, food and beverage, technology, and then print. So that's a flavour of some of the categories that we would look at for hospitality. But again, there is far more wide-ranging categories beyond that.
Yeah, and so right now, what you do that's relevant to the industry, and in the future for the hospitality industry, you get. I'm assuming, but I don't like to assume anything. What would you say would be the cost? It's more than cost cutting, isn't it, David?
Yeah,
Realistically.
yeah, it is. So we go into granular detail. So everything is bespoke to the client. So it's not a one size fits all procurement framework. Like sometimes our education clients are within a framework, but they tend to be one size fits all, whereas we look in granular detail at each client individually. And this, on top of this, the cost savings, obviously people are after and people want to realize those, or for us to realize them, we look at things like process improvement, sustainability, market insights. Obviously we know where the market's going. Maverick spend as well, it cuts down on that because we manage and audit the procurement on an ongoing relationship. So we can report back to the client where some spending may be going off piste, because one of the sites is not adhering to the policy or the new supplier, all that sort of thing that we bring into the project.
So you keep an eye on it ongoing after
Yes.
that, because I noticed when I was the general manager in the industry, you would come up with a contract, not you personally, but you'd get a contract all signed off for your costs, and then all of a sudden, 3 months later, they were back to what they were prior to the contract, and you'd say, hold on a minute, it would just creep back in, if not higher.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. And that's where we would manage that on an ongoing basis. And obviously things like RPI increases that might come along, that do come along, we combat those as well. And because we know what a market rise looks like, we ensure that any increases for our clients are limited to that. So one of the national waste suppliers recently had a 40% increase, because obviously we know how costs are going.
Yeah.
But they were applying a 40% increase to a couple of my clients on the waste and recycling, and we negotiated that down to 15%.
Wow.
So that's just an example of the value we bring to the table, as well as the initial cost savings that we achieve.
So it's not just doing the cost analysis and saying, "Oh, we can save you this." It's an ongoing relationship.
It is, yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And I always ask our Showcase Sunday interviewees, what are your 5 top tips? So, David, have you got 5 top tips that you could possibly help and support anybody watching right now until they come and speak to you?
Yeah, I suppose I have. I've got 5 quick tips, some of which they really can do themselves, but some that would be a good lead into having a conversation with myself. Number 1 is contracts. Have you checked your contracts recently? Are they rolling contracts, which many are after the initial period? We pick up a lot of erroneous contracts as well. So if you're out of contract, maybe energy, you might be on deemed rates, which can be punitive. So check contracts, number 1. Number 2, energy management. We know where energy prices have gone the last couple of years, and they still remain high, even though they've dropped in the last few months. But is there ways that you can look at to reduce your energy consumption, so we get at the root of the problem? Again, we do that as a category, but it's something that not all clients think about. Number 3, sustainability. So looking that's a buzzword at the moment, and looking to the future. Are you serious about sustainability, or are you a company that wants to do a token gesture, maybe some greenwashing, and maybe get a quick fix in there to show your credentials, but not be exceptionally expensive? But that's something we can well. Number 4, going back to energy market is a bit like the Wild West, a bit like photocopiers. We see all sorts of poor practice, let's say, across the board. But the government are tightening up now on energy. If you have an energy broker, by law, they have to declare now the commission that they will earn from the relationship and from procuring your energy. The vast majority are still not declaring that, even though it's a legal requirement. So, number one, have a look at your contract, see if there's anything in there. Ask your energy broker what they are getting paid, because it should be in black and white for you. And again, if you want to talk to us about it, that's fine. We can talk about that. And number 5, I suppose is a very generic tip, Alison. Consider whether you know what good looks like. I mentioned it earlier. A lot of our clients have done work themselves in certain cost areas. We will then pick them up for them and get them the icing on the cake. And, you know, in many cases, it can be another 20% cost savings on top of what they've achieved themselves, mainly because we do know what good looks like. And our specialists are not there to tread on people's toes, but they are there to add value to that business. And the fact that they are in the market every day, and the fact we've got over £1 billion worth of spend on the review at any one time, means that we do know what good looks like and can get those results.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because a lot of our industry talk to colleagues in the industry, and they've all got different brokers, but they don't actually know how to really benchmark. I see it a lot, you know, especially it's a story that they tell each other, and they believe it's a belief, and they say we've tried everything. And that's the way it is. The costs are going up, Alison, and you think that much, you know, and when you look at it, it's quite frightening. So it is so important to get experts like yourselves, because you are seeing it, and over £1 billion, you know, pounds worth a day being under review in costs. You know, that's incredible. And you'll know what good looks like, what really good looks like, not what they think it looks like. Yeah, it's quite interesting. No, thanks for those top tips. They are incredible. And when you mentioned about contracts, I just thought, yes, because how many people actually put it in the diaries when they sign a contract? Not many. And that's something, you know, to make sure that you are doing, putting in your diary when, you know, your term is coming, but also when you're out of contract. So prior to, you know, some of 3 to 4 months prior to the contract that you've got to give notice.
Yeah.
So it's really important that you put that time in the diary and speak to people like you, David. David, can I just ask as well? So if somebody's in contract, because that was my other thought when you were speaking about your top tips, if they're in contract, could you look at the costs even if they're in contract?
Yeah, we can. In certain contracts, they will not be able to get out early. For example, energy contracts, unless you've got a change of location involved, when you can change contract mid-term, you can't do that with energy in particular. But there is certain other contracts where we will, even if somebody is in contract, we do prelim work before we go out to tender. So if we have to, you know, let the contract run, as generally we do, we might be able to re-gear with suppliers contracts. But in whatever case, we will go through that contract with a fine-tooth comb, looking for any potential rebates, erroneous charges that are on there that shouldn't be there. And we will go back and realise those for the client from the supplier if there are.
Brilliant, brilliant. And have you got any examples that you've worked with, say the hospitality industry and business in general? Have you got any examples that save them time, energy, money, and how you add value to your clients?
Okay, yeah. So water, for example, recently with a hospitality client, We have changed water supplier. Now, water isn't huge in terms of monetary savings, because the government, or even though it's opened up commercially, not applied much pressure on the water companies. So there is 40 odd water companies out there that can provide water to commercial premises. So recently we moved a hospitality business to another supplier. We saved them about 6.5%, so not a huge saving, but what was more important for them was the added value of a better billing system, so monthly billing, all in one place, rather than it being all over the place over a quarter with estimated bills coming through, and also the customer service and their incumbent supplier. So really, the reason they wanted to move wasn't so much the cost saving, which was a byproduct. It was more the added value that moving would bring. Also, card fees. Another hospitality client, 90% saving with 19% saving. That's not 90.
Yeah, 19.
19% saving with an alternative supplier. In fact, interestingly, on this occasion, the incumbent came back with a better percentage saving, but the client didn't want to stay with the incumbent. The client chose not to, and that's always the client's choice. We do all the heavy lifting. We provide the options for the client. So in this case, they opted to go to a different card provider, and there has been some billing issues initially for different reasons. We sort all that, as I've said, a part of our engagement piece. So when we do the supply audits going forward, we ensure that any problems are sorted out with the supplier. So not just service and quality, but pricing as well. If there's anything, any mistakes have been made, any charges they're trying to slip under the back door, a few months later, we're there for that. Insurance, the one. Another hospitality client, they've been with their broker for a significant amount of time. We're talking 10 years plus. They thought they were pretty happy with the broker, but they wanted us to conduct a review. We did a review. The incumbent did come back with some savings, but more importantly, this was where the contract analysis came in prior to doing the tender. We found there was some business interruption insurance that was never going to pay out with their existing broker. So we went back to their existing broker, got a rebate for them on that because it wasn't fit for purpose. Then we tendered at the end of the year when the expiry was up. We got them 21% saving with an alternative broker. There was a smaller saving on the table with the incumbent, but they chose to move. And they've been very happy with the new broker, and the new broker has helped them with certain initiatives, charitable initiatives that they wanted to be involved in, where their old broker did do that as well. So even there, the new supplier has matched that quality of added value that came along with the cost savings.
Brilliant. It's interesting. So the other thought that I just had, if somebody wanted, especially with sustainability, they wanted to use suppliers, for example, within a 20-30 mile radius, is that something you look at as well?
It is, yeah. So if it really depends on the category. Sometimes clients are quite happy to use national suppliers. Other times they want local suppliers, and sometimes they want a mix of both. We generally would do a mix, but when we do situation report or benchmark report, we always go back to the client with a list of suppliers we're intending to tender to, but we can add any specific needs or take suppliers out at that point. If they've used a supplier in the past that they weren't happy with, then we'll take them out. So everything has to be right for the client. But yeah, in terms of local supplier, yeah, we're quite happy to use that. Do the food project at the moment, and we're using local wholesalers for the supply of that as well. So yeah, very used to doing that.
Brilliant. And you'll get the best deals because of the purchasing power
Yeah.
that you have. Yeah. Okay. And if someone was sitting on the fence, why on earth would they be? I always say that because I just think it's a no-brainer. You know, what would your current, present, and past clients say about working with you and your team?
Well, we term ourselves as trusted advisors. As I said, we're in a relationship with the client, and we want that to be good going forward. We're not just a quick fly-by-night. We're here, we do the deal, and then we scarper, which we hear stories about that when we go into clients, you know, that have had maybe poor experiences in the past with third parties. So we are trusted advisors. I think in terms of my client base, thinking about my clients personally, I'm sure they would say that I do what I say I'm going to do. I get back to them quickly. I try and always get back to them the same day if at all possible, even if it's in the evening and I've been out at clients all day. Help with any issues. So if they have any problems with the supply, we will sort that out quickly, either myself as client manager or the specialist that's in charge of that area, because we become really an add-on to their existing team in terms of we become their indirect procurement arm. So it gives them tremendous resource without having to employ somebody to do it. Dependable. I think my clients would say that they find me, you know, that if I say I'm going to do something, I do it, and I'm there when they need me. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. But we are there for an all-round support. So just give you another example. We do a number of categories for a hospitality client, and one day the FD rang me up and said, David, we've got some solar panels we installed a few years ago, so we didn't do that project for them, but we're struggling to know what is the best way of cleaning them. Can any of your specialists help? So I got, the same day, I got my facilities management specialist to give the client a ring and talk them through exactly how they needed to go about it and what they needed to do. So that's an example where, you know, we're not doing that category as a project for them, but because of our wealth of knowledge, the client knew that they could come and ask that advice.
That's amazing. And what an arm to have. And how much does it cost? How much does it cost the company if they, you know, get you involved? If I mean, and what process do you go through? I think that's really important to know, because I know a lot of people, you know, will be saying it's like they're saying, Alison, but will it take me all day to actually sit with David and go through every invoice and will it take me, you know, a month?
Yeah. No, well, what we estimate in terms of time commitment for the client per project over the 3-year engagement, we estimate 4 to 5 hours per project, and that's not just for the sponsor's time, that's for the whole organization, their whole time from the client side. So it's a very minimal time commitment. We do all the heavy lifting, we do the data collect, the processing of the invoices and play it back to the client. Really, the client is there to make the decisions and to choose from the options that we put in front of them. So the actual commitment, once we're on board, is very limited. Because that's a good point. I can understand totally. I worked in corporate for 30 years. I can understand totally where the client's coming from if they think this is going to take me days worth of work to get this off the ground. That is not the case. And you know, I'm sure a half an hour chat with anyone, I would be able to go through the process in a little bit more detail than we can now.
Yeah, it's so important. And go on, sorry.
Sorry, and yeah, just to add in terms of fees, we generate our own fees from the savings we make. So we get paid purely on cost saving, and we do it on a gain share basis with the client. So it's no risk for the client really, because what we're saying is if we don't add value, if we don't realise savings for you, don't owe us a penny. All the added value aspects that we bring to a project are the clients to keep on top.
Brilliant. Brilliant, fantastic. So how does anybody get in touch with you? What's the ideal way to get in touch with you, David?
Well, probably mobile or email. So my email is dramm, that's double M, @expensereduction.com. And my mobile number is 0771 451 2466.
Brilliant. And we'll put all David's details at the end of our Showcase Sunday today, so that you can go on the links there and check David out. And certainly it's worth having that conversation. And then once you're engaged 4 or 5 hours, yes, it might seem a lot, especially if you're short-staffed right now and you're busy. However, it's certainly worth that time and energy to be able to save you some serious money going forward, and keep that relationship going so that you get, you know, added value without a shadow of a doubt, and be managed. Your procurement would be managed by expense reduction analysis. So, David, thank you very much. Do you want to add anything else, or are you?
No, that's fine. It literally is within half an hour we'd be able to ascertain whether we could add any value really to the business, and then we'd take a dive into some of the numbers. But just a short intro meeting, either face to face or on Teams, would suffice.
Brilliant. No, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. And it's just a quick question. Is there a leading organisation? So, for example, if you're a small business, would that be something that you would talk to, or you know, what size of business is the leading business?
Generally over £3 or £4 million turnover, annual turnover, up to hundreds of millions. That's our range, but 80% of what we do is under 100 million turnover business. Yeah,
and it would, even if you're lower than that, it'd be worth having, you know, a quick conversation with David.
I'm quite happy to do that.
He'd be able to help and support you to start making some savings, or give you some more pointers to get you in that direction, you know, within that time frame.
Yeah, that's fine.
Brilliant. Thanks, David. Great. Thank you, everybody, and happy Showcase Sunday. Happy Sunday. And it's been an amazing, lots of content there for you to go away and start saving some serious money right now, especially as costs are still going in the wrong direction, I call it, but still increasing. So thank you very much, and hope you have a great Sunday, everybody. Happy Showcase Sunday. Take care.